we finally have our first look at Aquaman 2. But does anybody really care? Ahsoka Episode 5 was a show, an episode of TV for the ages. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, sticking with the Ahsoka stuff, has the volume, which was created and used in all of these Star Wars shows, has it ruined lightsaber battles and other forms of content in media? We're going to talk about all this and a lot more, hopefully. Oh, wait, and the big thing, has the DCEU been abandoned? We're going to talk about that too. So, welcome to Bridging the Geekdoms. Let's get into it. Hi. How's it going? What's up, everybody? Hopefully you've had a good week. I've had a pretty decent week myself. Really, I think what capped it all off was that Ahsoka episode. Holy crap, was that good. But yeah, how's it going? Oh, look, Triton's here. I'm here on time. Yay! I think I do have cheers. Do I have cheers? Let's, yeah, here we go. There we go. Yay, he's here on time. Yay! What's going on? Congrats on 2,000 subs. Thank you. Finally hit that mark. I've been trying for like 5 months. Like I needed like 20 more. I think it was April. I noticed I was like 20 or 30 away. And it just took it. Like nobody was subscribing. And I don't know. I don't know what was going on, but thank you. Thank you for thank you for the congratulations on the 2,000 subscribers. Now I just got to get the watch time up. That's what I need. I need to get people to start watching everything. I think I put out pretty decent content. I guess nobody else thinks I put out decent content. I don't know, but that actually brings me to the first thing I want to talk about here, because one of the things that I think did help me hit that 2,000 subs was something I put out just the other day. The other day, I put out a video which was inspired by that Prism. What if the sequel trilogy was awesome? We talked about it just a couple weeks ago. And I was inspired by that. So I did my own. What if the Obi-Wan Kenobi show didn't suck? And I know some people don't think the show sucked. I did. But the reviews are in. People are commenting on it and are loving it. It's got, I think, around 800 views. People are watching it. People like it. I just wanted to blow up. I wanted to get bigger because people do enjoy it. So make sure you head over to the YouTube channel for Bridging the Geekdoms. If you're listening to this on podcast, head over to our channel and check it out. It's only about 12 minutes long. It's more of a synopsis. It isn't even like a full story. Actually, the one I'm working on now is going to be much longer, probably about 30 or 40 minutes. I'm partially done with part one of that, so the first like 15 or so minutes I'm done with, and hopefully I'm going to get that out. I'd like to get it out next week. I don't know if it's going to happen, but make sure you head over and check them out. And Triton says 0 to 10 needed more Reva. No, get her out of there. Actually, I liked the way that I used her, but that's neither here nor there. People could go check it out and enjoy it if you want. If you don't, yeah, I'm also up for hearing if it sucked. If you didn't like it, do a thumbs down. Tell me why you didn't like it. I'm up for the criticism. I'm a man. I can take it. All right, let's get into this stuff real quick. I do want to talk quickly about Ahsoka. I did a full review yesterday and posted it. So if you want to hear my entire thoughts on Ahsoka episode 5, you can check that out. But I'm telling you, this episode did everything that a Star Wars show needs to do. Because not only was it a good story, was there a good lesson, but it hit the member berries. And here's the thing, fan service. I know a lot of people complain about fan service all the time. And this episode absolutely had fan service moments. But when it's done well and done for the story to help progress the story, then it's not bad. It's good. It's exciting. Seeing the Clone Wars, going into the Clone Wars and seeing the Clone Wars, a young Ahsoka, a young Anakin in the Clone Wars was phenomenal. I loved it. If you saw it, I want to know what you thought. Did you love it? The thing that I'm loving most about Ahsoka right now, what it's doing for Star Wars, is something that we haven't seen since I'll say episode 8. So we're talking, what's it been, 7 years at this point? And what episode 8 did, or maybe 6 years, whatever, is it got people talking. In this show, Ahsoka is what a lot of people call water cooler talk. After the episode airs, people will go into work, stand around the water cooler, and discuss what they saw. And that's what this show is. And I mean, that's just the name for it. People are going online. That's what people do now. Is they go on social media, they talk about this thing, they theorize, they have fun with it. And yeah, there's some really ridiculous theories out there. I kind of made fun of a theory that I saw and posted on Twitter today, and Poindexter Lounge and I had a little back and forth from it because it was pretty funny. But that's the thing. When it comes to Star Wars, the greatest joy that I've had as a fan is theorizing, having those discussions and conversations with fans about what could be happening next. And they did it. They did it perfectly. This is, and I see you, Triton. You go, us prequel fanboys told you for years that Hayden was perfect Anakin Skywalker, but you didn't believe us. Bet you feel a bit silly now, huh? Yeah, man. Hayden did phenomenal in this. And I like how it was kind of a mix of Hayden and Matt Lanter. Matt Lanter was the voice of Anakin in the Clone Wars cartoon animation show. And I like how he was able to mix his own with Matt Lanter. Matt Lantern. I can't talk. Lanter. Anyway, Dave Filoni, what he's done with this show is he's revived Star Wars. And maybe that's hyperbole. I know a lot of people probably say it's hyperbole, but I think he's revived it in a way of bringing Star Wars back to what it once was. I get that people really enjoyed the Andor show. I wasn't a big fan of it. And it kind of put Star Wars kind of like, hey, it could still be good. But that was a different type of good. That was a different type of fandom with Andor. This has taken it back to what Star Wars was, even before Disney bought Lucasfilm. It's about that conversation, that theorizing, that discussion of what ifs. Again, what if? Like, that is a huge thing. Like, what if Anakin didn't turn? What if Ahsoka was there to help, stop Anakin? That type of stuff. When that pops up, those theories, those ideas, those thoughts come from stuff like this. When you see things like this, and I think it's just perfect. It's amazing. Triton, seriously though, I liked it, but don't know if I can fairly compare synopsis to a full show. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about my what if thing. Yeah, I'll tell you, my next thing that I'm releasing is a lot more thought out. That Obi-Wan one, that was my synopsis I made months and months and years ago, really, almost. I think it was before even COVID-19 hit. So that there was really old. I kind of touched it up, changed some things here and there. Kind of, Riva, I added into it. There was a lot of stuff that I punched up just because I liked certain characters or certain angles or things that they did do in the show, and I tried to incorporate it. But most of it, especially the beginning part with the Jedi that finds Obi-Wan, that stuff, that was all in there prior to the Obi-Wan show. Even before they got Jobby Harold writing it, that was part of it. So it was really interesting that a lot of those little aspects made its way into this show, just showing that people had, and there's people out there that have similar ideas that you have when it comes to Star Wars. But again, Ahsoka, phenomenal job by Dave Filoni. I cannot believe how great of a job he's done with this show. Just the visuals, just everything has just been great. Just great. Every aspect of it. All of it. So let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you think about Ahsoka. I want to know where you think it's going. I just want to know everything. Let me know all of your thoughts on it in the comments. Yeah. All right. So sticking with the Star Wars theme right now, before we get into the DC stuff, there is another topic I wanted to discuss that Collider actually posted, I think it was today. I saw it pop up on my social media today. And after 2 weeks of witnessing some amazing Star Wars content, and it's not just amazing Star Wars content where it's, great story, but they had some really cool moments when it comes to lightsaber battles. That fight between Ahsoka and Balin was great. It wasn't like all these flips and crazy stunts, but it just had so much feeling and impact behind it. And then you have this week's episode with Ahsoka and Anakin. And again, there's so much to it. So let's pull this up from, what do you got for me, Triton? I wonder what the reputation of Disney Star Wars would be like if Filoni had done the sequel trilogy. He should have been part of the writing team for the sequels. If not only to keep everything in line with Star Wars, I don't mind. I like the idea of having different voices and different people coming in and doing things. Like, I was a big fan of the idea of Matthew Vaughn coming in and doing a Star Wars. I didn't hate the idea of J.J. Abrams coming in. I like J.J. Abrams as a director and a writer. Even Rian Johnson, I thought was going to be great. But it's the lack of connectivity. It's the lack of planning that ruined it. And the one person who understands the idea of planning and having an idea that you work towards, it is Dave Filoni. And I think that would have been the big difference if he was not necessarily in charge of Star Wars, but just used more during that time. But for some reason, whether Dave himself didn't think he was ready, Kathy Kennedy didn't think he was ready, for some reason, they just didn't think he was ready to be part of those larger discussions, which baffles me. But remember, this was 2012, 2013, 2014, that time frame. He was, he's coming off of Clone Wars, and then he kind of shifted right into Rebels. And that was one of those things. It was kind of like, he's busy doing his animation thing. He hadn't done live action. I get it, but I think that they should have used someone like him, and even Pablo Hidalgo should have been utilized a lot more than they were when it comes to the connective tissue of the sequels. All right. So on to this topic when it comes to Collider, they talk about the volume. And the volume is the big stage that they created for The Mandalorian specifically years ago, where it's a big screen. It's just this big screen that they can put everything on with the camera. It moves a certain way and the picture moves with it, so it looks like you're really there. And yes, there are limitations to it. We've seen the limitations to it in The Mandalorian. We've seen the limitations to it specifically. We saw it in Obi-Wan. It looked horrendous in Obi-Wan. But it is an amazing piece of technology that has really transformed and changed the way that filming can be done when it comes to film or TV shows. It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot faster. There's some cool things that you can do with it. But Collider believes that it's actually ruined lightsaber battles. And they go, lightsaber battles are usually the highlight of most Star Wars stories. They are the climax of the story arc, when words can no longer solve anything and the clashing of blades offers the only possible resolution. This usually comes in the form of stopping someone from doing something or going somewhere. And it's something so common in the franchise, we don't really think much about it or about why characters are fighting anymore. We just enjoy it, and we should. But if we can give as much thought to how they fight as we do the why, it gets even better. And that's where Ahsoka's recent fights become outliers. So they say lots of duels in the past 2 episodes, all very well designed and choreographed, but the single trait they all share is there's practically no moving around. In episode 4, the duels with Shin and her in a small area in the woods, as does Ahsoka with Marok. In the first duel, there's even a small amount of jumping and force throwing, but never straying far from where the fight began. Later, Ahsoka takes on Balin's school, and the fighting happens inside the astral projection. And then Ahsoka has a fight with Anakin in the World Between Worlds, but they only move a few steps forward and backwards. And even in the Clone Wars flashback, there's very little moving around too. As you can see, they're showing some things here. They say the volume is 20 feet tall and 75 feet across. And although we're terrible with numbers and couldn't have made an estimate, it's unlikely that any of those scenes go beyond these same dimensions. It's a big studio for sure, but that's still very little moving around for such an important part of Star Wars storytelling. Lightsaber duels are a whole different narrative form, and the combatants are not the only characters that play important parts. Their surroundings matter just as much as their abilities. In Episode 1, the part of the Theed Palace where the Duel of Fates take place offers lots of challenges, from characters being thrown off bridges, the laser barriers, and the final chasm. In Star Wars Episode 5, Vader uses all of what's available to him to make quick work of Luke until he corners him. And then in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey and Kylo deal with the sea above the Death Star wreckage. Okay, so that's the whole idea. And I can see what they're saying. That comes down to people being so excited about the idea of lightsaber battles that are like the prequels. And don't get me wrong, I love me some prequel lightsabers battles. I do. But here's the thing. We're not in the prequel era. Yes, I get it. The Clone Wars stuff in the show here was the prequel era. I get that. But that wasn't the focus of that scene. That scene wasn't about the lightsaber battle. Yes, the fight in the World Between Worlds was just back and forth. Well, they're on a little bridge, a thin bridge. And again, it wasn't as much about the lightsaber battle as it was the battle between her and Anakin, and really the battle with herself. You take a look at Baylan and Ahsoka. That fight, go back and take a look at social media. Take a look at the reaction to that fight. Everybody loved it. There was no complaints on, oh, there's not enough flips. There's not enough. They're not running around the entire woods everywhere. I can give you the fight in the woods. But even then, Sabine is not a Jedi. She's not somebody who's going to be doing those types of maneuvers and fight choreography. So I get where you want to see more. But the story has yet to ask for it. The story has yet to say, we need a scene like this. So to make this argument shows that you don't necessarily, and if you're somebody who agrees with this, you don't necessarily understand what is going on in the story. You're simply watching because you want to see these big action sequences that are over the top, but you don't quite understand that the story doesn't require that at the moment. Triton says the absence of Nick Gillard doesn't help. He's openly said he'd love to return. Yeah, I mean, he's the stunt coordinator of the prequel trilogy, as you said, and the dude who literally created the 7 forms of lightsaber combat. Yes, exactly. Nick Gillard coming back would be amazing, would be fantastic. I would love to see him come back. I actually thought watching this episode, this latest episode of Ahsoka, just the way Hayden was moving reminded me so much of his combat style in episode 3 specifically, that I thought that Nick Gillard was back, but according to the credits, he was not. But yes, I love lightsaber duels. I love them. That's one of the reasons why I'm disappointed in The Last Jedi, is because The Last Jedi, while it does have a really cool, fun scene in the throne room, it's the only saga film that doesn't have a lightsaber duel in it. And that to me is just an abomination and just disappointing and upsetting. I love lightsaber duels. Triton says, I agree with you. I just miss generally great lightsaber duels like Duel of the Fates or Anakin vs. Obi-Wan on Mustafar, also known as Battle of Heroes. Yeah, I mean, I miss it too. And I won't lie, in The Rise of Skywalker, the fight with Rey and Kylo on the wreckage was pretty cool. It was a cool lightsaber fight. It wasn't anything special. It was missing that Nick Gillard choreograph that was so prequels-like. But then again, like I just said, when you have to realize where the story is taking you, what the story is giving you, and the characters involved. Does Baylan Skoll look like somebody who's going to be jumping around all nimbly-bimbly like a cat? No, he's not. He's not that kind of Jedi. He's not that kind of Force user. Yeah, Ahsoka is one that loves to do somersaults and flips and stuff like that, but she's older and she's a little more wise. She's not like she was during the Clone Wars. So when you get down to it, you take a look at the story. To me, this article is simply just somebody who doesn't understand or want to understand the story and just wants these big set action pieces. And that's what the movies are going to be for. You know, when we get that next film with Ray in it, um, that's going to have hopefully it has lightsaber fights in it. That's where you're going to see that. Hell, when we get the Dave Filoni movie, look, all I'm saying, I'm thinking this is going to be my my topic for next week, unless something else goes. But I'm telling you, they better bring Luke Skywalker into that movie. If they are going to adapt the Heir to the Empire story in some form or fashion, even if it's very loosely based, just saying Heir to the Empire and having Thrawn, you need to have Luke Skywalker in there. You need to. Triton says the throne room fight is the best lightsaber duel of the sequel trilogy. The Force Awakens is, but Rise of Skywalkers makes me sick. It's basically just them swinging baseball bats. It was a cool location. Let's go there. Again, you can't. Yeah, I mean, lightsaber duel in Episode 8. It really wasn't a duel. It was just them fighting the Praetorian Guards, which, they magically have weapons appear here and there. They'll get me into Episode 8. Just don't. Maybe someday you'll hear my side and what I think Episode 8 should have been. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, when you take a look at everything, I think you have to appreciate the story for what it is. I agree that like something in Obi-Wan, it felt very, very small. That show as a whole felt very small. Even the fight with Vader and Obi-Wan in that, it felt small, but it was supposed to in a sense. And I get that. And I understand that. I do, because that's where the story took us. So I don't know who wrote this. I should probably take a look. Giulio Bardini from Collider. Yeah, man. Maybe just don't focus so much on the action and focus on the story, man. That's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you think about the volume. Do you think the lightsaber fights in Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, stuff like that, have been disappointing because of them shooting in the volume? Let me know your thoughts. Triton says, confession time. The duel in the Obi-Wan finale is my second favorite lightsaber duel ever. Here's the thing, and I'll talk about this real quick before we move on to the next topic, because it fits with my what if video I made. It's not a bad duel. It's not. What I don't like about it, is the fact that you have Obi-Wan and Vader fighting, and Obi-Wan just walks away. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You can't just have Obi-Wan walk away and Vader just stand there. Like, there has to be a reason why they're separated, why they're pulled apart, because Vader at that moment is seeking his revenge. And he's not going to let Obi-Wan walk away, no matter what. And Obi-Wan, he knows at that point, like, he needs to complete his mission, which was to kill Anakin, was to stop and destroy Anakin. You can't just allow him to walk away and say, yeah, I let Vader live because, Vader. Like, that to me is what ruined that for me. They even if it was just some dumb plot device where rocks fall between them, or like in the Force Awakens where the ground breaks them apart. I don't care if it was a dumb plot device like that. There had to be a reason. There has to be a reason why they are no longer able to finish the fight and one of them come out victorious. It's that simple. Everything else was decent. The emotion behind everything was done well. Triton says Battle of Heroes is my number one. You know, believe it or not, I love Battle of Heroes, and it's up there in top 3. But my favorite is Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. I love the emotion. I love the score. I love just the raw tension that's in that scene. It's not over the top. It's just that was I believe I'm much older than you, but you know, when I was a kid in the 90s, that was the best lightsaber battle there was at the time. There was no prequels. And to me, it just holds a special place in my heart. But I love Battle of Heroes. Battle of Heroes is fantastic and amazing, and I will put that probably number 2 behind the fight in Return of the Jedi. But then again, Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith are my 2 favorite Star Wars films, and they could flip-flop either 1 and 2, either one of them, and I wouldn't complain because they're my 2 favorite. All right. Next topic. We're talking a little bit about Aquaman. Aquaman. We got a trailer for the Aquaman. Let's take a look.
4 years ago, I was basically unemployed. A wanderer
Yeah.
with no home.
The first Aquaman.
And a father.
The fact that they make him have a kid here, I think, is a little wonky. I definitely think it's wonky. I have to say the special effects, and I know this is just a trailer. I know.
Oh yeah, I finally got a job.
But they don't look great.
King of Atlantis.
Like, the one thing I loved about the first Aquaman was just how beautiful it was. And this looks like it's going to be beautiful again. Like, look at some of these shots. Like, it looks, the cinematography looks great. Just the visuals are great. But when it comes to the special effects of the people, something just seems really off with it. Even that scene there, something looks off with it.
Must be stopped, or a global meltdown is imminent.
I am excited about Black Manta.
I think I know someone I might be able to help us. Ooh, you look rough. Good job, little brother. High five. Do not call me brother.
I'm looking forward to it, though. I mean,
yeah, well, I hate this job.
I don't know. Like this, that just looks terrible. Terrible.
Manta, he's different now. He's stronger than before.
It's the Black Trident. During King Atlan's time, there were 7 kingdoms.
Yeah,
It was a curse upon them all.
Trident's dark magic is spreading.
He means to end the bloodline.
I really liked the first Aquaman. If it wasn't for, because if I'm not mistaken, that came out the same year that Into the Spider-Verse came out.
The 7 kingdoms will follow.
And those were the top 2 films that year, in my opinion. Like, both Aquaman and that Spider-Man movie were the best. Yeah, I don't think it looks terrible. But I'm just worried about the special effects. I mean, I said it earlier. Like, it just, to me, something feels off about it when you're looking at the characters. Arthur at times looks weird. Real quick, he said, wow. Triton says, wow, I don't care. I really like the first one. I think that, not counting the Snyder cut, since it's technically a film from 2017, it's the last DCEU film worth a damn, but I just don't care anymore. He also says, Jesus Christ, now I've seen the trailer. I care even less than I did when I made my last message before you showed the trailer. It looks ugly and cheesy. I think the comedy and the cheese, as you would say, I think looks on par with the first Aquaman. But the special effects, that's the thing that I think looks really bizarre. Is there like a glare on my hat? Weird. There's something about the special effects that just doesn't look right to me. And again, I think some of the things just look fake and look terrible. Triton hashtag restore the Snyderverse, animate the Snyderverse, release the Ayer cut Batfleck solo film. Yeah. But let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you think of the Aquaman trailer. Does it make you interested in checking it out? Do you want to see it? Do you not want to see it? Honestly, I'm shocked and surprised at the reactions that I've seen on social media. People are sitting there, even the hardcore Snyder fans are sitting there saying, "Oh, that looks amazing! I can't wait to see it." But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna see it. I think I'm just ready for the DCU at this point. I do. I think I'm ready for the DCU at this point. And that leads me into our final and main topic for the day. And that is, maybe if I had this prepared, has the DCEU been abandoned? Because it's a good question. Has the DCEU been abandoned? They have one more movie to come out, even though James Wan recently has said this isn't part of anything else. And I think he's panically saying that because look what happened to Flash, Shazam, Black Adam, all that stuff. He knows if people look at it as a film from the DCEU and that it's connected in some form or fashion, that it's probably going to do crap. And I think regardless of that at this point, I think it's not going to do well. I don't know if James Gunn's saying anything. I know some people are complaining that James Gunn isn't even promoting this right now. Oh, and then they're saying because James Gunn's not promoting, it's going to be $1 billion film. I don't think whether he does or doesn't is going to have any effect on what this movie is essentially going to do. The only thing that I think would save this movie is if they came out and said, oh, this is a reboot. This is part of the DCU. But they're not going to do that because it's not a reboot. They're not going to do that because this isn't a story or anything that they created to connect to the DCU. So this movie is just going to be what it is, a movie that is loosely connected to the DCEU. Now, whether or not Jason Momoa's Aquaman is brought over to the DCU or not, I think that doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to happen. I honestly don't even know if he's going to be Lobo like a lot of people think he's going to be. But, well, hey, maybe he's the Batman. Maybe he'll be the Batman in the DCU. I know that, didn't he try out for it one time? He may have. I don't know. I could be wrong. I think he tried out for some DC character years ago before he got Aquaman. But regardless, this film is the end of the DCEU. Officially, it's done. Once this movie comes out, the DCEU is done, gone. Push it away. What you saying, Triton? Most of it has. As you know, a lot of people want certain aspects of it released, completed, but even those people don't give a toss about most of it anymore. I don't know what you're talking about. What did I say? I forget what I said now. This is why, like, if my show got more popular and I had more people talking, I would have no idea. I would not be able to follow along. I just wouldn't. It'd be difficult. But the DCEU, has it been abandoned? I think it has. And I think it needed to be. And this question really kind of popped up prior to them, because I think it was Sunday or Monday, there was talk on social media that Warner Brothers is considering just scrapping Aquaman. And I think that came from some random scooper duper on social media. Nobody that really knows a damn thing about anything, and was trying to say, oh, Warner Brothers is considering just scrapping it. we all knew that they weren't going to scrap it. It was going to be one of those movies that they made sure that they got at least some of their money back on, because they've spent so much money. They know that the movie's going to make between 200 and 400 million minimum in theater, on Jason Momoa's name alone and the Aquaman name alone. If it makes more than that, I'd be shocked. But the DCEU is dead. And for good reason, they have abandoned it. They're not going to push this idea and these thoughts of it moving forward, of the DCEU moving forward. They're not going to market something that isn't going to continue. So we're going to see very little marketing done for Aquaman. And even before they announced that this trailer was coming out today, I would have said the same thing. That, look, we're 3 or 4 months out, 3.5, 4 months out from when the movie's going to be released. This is around the time that we're going to start seeing marketing happen. And it's going to be minimal marketing. People have this thought. And again, for all that Marvel has done to put the superhero genre and comic book movies, where they were, they've also done a lot to hurt Hollywood and the film industry, because the hype for their movies and their marketing for some of their movies would sometimes start 7, 8, 9 months prior to the movie even coming out. They would show a little tease. They would tease that the movie's coming. They would announce this, they would announce that, and make big deals about it. Sure, other films do that, but most of the time it would be through trades. There would be an article. There was an article that Michael Keaton was Batman in the 80s. Like, there was no big reveal. There was no press conference. It was just a news article in the newspaper. Michael Keaton, Batman, or it was in Entertainment Weekly or something like that. So what Marvel has done is they've really put into a lot of people's minds that the way that marketing has to start for these films is nearly a year in advance. And that's just not the case. They've found, especially since COVID, they've really shortened that marketing time frame for films. And 4 months. The most I've seen is 6 months. But take a look at what has been one of the biggest movies in the last 5 years, which was Spider-Man No Way Home. That marketing didn't start, I think it was 4 months, 3.5, 4 months. That marketing ramped up and really started. And we got, 2.5 trailers, 2.5, 3 trailers in that amount of time. Even the Star Wars movies. Let's take a look back at The Force Awakens. We got a teaser trailer the May, so 6 months before the movie came out. Then we got an official trailer in the October before it came out. And then we got another trailer the November before it came out. Like, that was it. Like, you're talking about 6 months and really 3 months prior to the movie coming out where the real marketing happened. That's how film marketing is. So this idea that, people, or that Warner Brothers abandoned Aquaman, people are just saying that. They're the ones that don't understand how Hollywood works. They don't understand how marketing works. They don't understand how they push these movies. Now, do I think that they've abandoned DCU as a whole? Well, yeah, they have to. They have this movie. They have a marketing budget. They're going to utilize that marketing budget. They may have cut it, but they have a budget for marketing for this movie, and they're going to utilize that budget. And that's that. What hurts it even more is the current strikes going on, because you're not going to have Nicole Kidman. You're not going to have Tamora Morrison. You're not going to have Patrick Wilson or Jason Momoa or whoever is in that movie. You're not going to be able to have them go and promote this film if the strikes are going on come December. So hopefully by then the strikes are over and they can go out and promote, because that's, cheap publicity. That's cheap marketing. And, people like seeing that. As much as I don't like the late shows now, having those actors go on there and talk about their upcoming movie, that does help sell tickets. So, when it comes down to it, DCEU is pretty much abandoned. It is. But it should be, because it's over. Aquaman is the last movie in that chain of 10 years, 10 plus years of movies that unfortunately failed. Aquaman is the last one. Let's see. What are you saying, Triton? You got a whole bunch of comments here. He said, I'm talking about the DCU being abandoned. Literally all you hear about nowadays is people like me wanting Ayer cut, Snyder's JL 2 and 3, etc. My point is the only people who still care about certain parts. I'm braced for 4 to 4 DC flops this year. Yeah. So has the fandom abandoned the DCU? That's another question. That's another good question. I think the fans have not abandoned it. Like, why would the fans abandon it right now? Because there's really no reason for them to abandon it. Especially the ones who love what they've seen, which is basically just the Snyder boys and the Snyder fans. So they want to see the Snyder stuff continue, which is the DCEU. But let's face it, you take a look, you said it here, right here, Triton, you said it. I'm braced for 4 to 4 DC flops this year. That means the fans have abandoned it as well. It's over. It's done. Not only has Warner Brothers said, let's throw in the towel, let's let this one play out, and we'll go from there, but the fans have thrown in the towel too. Aquaman 2 is going to be a flop. I'm saying it loud and clear right now, right here. Aquaman 2 is going to be a flop. And it's going to be the 4th flop. Is it the 4th flop? Is there 4 movies this year? Yeah, there's 4 movies this year. And honestly, I know financially Blue Beetle was a flop, but I tell you what, that movie is fun. That movie's fun. Go watch that movie if you haven't. And don't make fun of me about my winter Snoopy cup. But I'm telling you, if you haven't seen Blue Beetle, go check it out. Go check it out. You will not be disappointed. It is a fun. Don't go in there expecting Man of Steel. Don't go in there expecting a thought-provoking film like Batman vs. Superman. No, go in there just expecting a good popcorn action flick of a superhero origin movie. It's just a good time. It should fill people, even if they hated Snyder stuff, with dread that WB casually ended a decade-long franchise without actually ending it. Disrespectful to the brand and the fans, honestly. I would agree with you on that had the fans still been showing up. So, with Aquaman being the last movie in the DCEU, if Blue Beetle made $600 million, if The Flash made almost $1 billion, if Shazam 2 made $400-500 million, I would agree with you that it is a disrespectful move for Warner Brothers to end it with Aquaman 2, unceremoniously. But the fans aren't showing up. They're not. So why should Warner Brothers care how they end it? They shouldn't. They shouldn't care. They should say, look, nobody's coming to see these movies. Why are we making them anymore? Why? They do it all the time with franchises in different studios. What was it? The Maze Runner series was supposed to have like 5 or 6 movies. After the 3rd one, they were like, we're done. And they think they finished it on TV or something like that. As I've told all the gun stands who laugh at me saying Gun Suicide Squad flopped and say it doesn't matter because it was good, good films that flop don't lead to long-lasting franchises. I had a similar conversation on social media between last night and today. Somebody brought up Blue Beetle and how it didn't leave any cultural impact. So it wasn't a good movie. A good movie, only good movies leave cultural impact. And I completely disagree with that because there are plenty of good movies out there, movies that I've seen that aren't always talked about, that aren't always at the forefront of conversation, of discussion. Like, yeah, they'll be brought up from time to time, but good being at the forefront of conversation does not mean that there is no impact culturally, and it also doesn't mean that it's not good. So sitting here saying that Gunn Suicide Squad, yeah, it's good, but it flopped financially, that doesn't mean that the franchise that could be built out of it, or that would have been built out of it, would not have been successful. You can't say that. Now, I don't sit here. I'm not somebody who believes that. I know we don't have a clear understanding of what Gunn is doing at the DCU. I know we don't know, is he going to reboot everybody, all the cast, all the characters, everybody? We don't know. We've heard about Waller, which, you know, I'm sure is still going to be played by what's her face? I can't think of her name right now. It's right there. I can't think of her name. Harley Quinn may still be played by Margot Robbie. I think there's going to be a point in time where between now and when they would utilize Harley Quinn, I think she's going to be too big of an actress at that time. I mean, you take a look. She has $1 billion film with Barbie. She's a really good actor. I think that she's going to rise above the Harley Quinn role, and she may still do it regardless. But are they going to want to pay her? That's the question. You know, John Cena's Peacemaker, you can throw him in wherever you want. You know, so yeah, I guess I think those are going to be like the only characters he really keeps, are those low-level characters. So would you sit there and say that this is a continuation or an offshoot from his Suicide Squad movie that quote-unquote flopped financially? Maybe you can say that. Maybe you can stretch it out and say that. But to prove my point, Triton, Suicide Squad financially flopped. Yes. Of course, there are circumstances which cause that. I will always say that. I will not deny that. So, look, between COVID, same day release, rated R, very little marketing, all of that, there's a lot of reasons why that movie did not do well. A follow-up to a movie that, while, yes, made a lot of money, in the long run, really was not beloved by a lot of people. So when you take a look at all those circumstances, you can understand why the movie did not do very well financially, but it was a good movie. And then off of it came a very successful and very much loved television show, Peacemaker. You see, like, even though the movie didn't do well financially, it was able to build off of what it did do well and create a successful television show, which is getting a second season, will be getting a second season as well. So because a film doesn't do well financially does not necessarily mean that the franchise as a whole will fail. Because sometimes that first movie, that first project, sometimes, I'm not saying always, isn't going to be your $1 billion hit. But everybody says Man of Steel should have cost more, or made more money, and same with the BVS. Well, yes, that's a different story. Man of Steel made what it probably should have made. Batman vs Superman made a little bit less than what it should have made. It probably should have hit that $1 billion mark, but it didn't. Wasn't a fail. It was not a failure financially. Just didn't hit the expectations. But I'm not sitting here saying that if Superman Legacy comes out and makes $200 million, that the DCU is going to be successful. I'm not saying that. If Superman Legacy comes out and makes $200 million, yes, I'm going to be worried for the longevity of the DCU, if it even makes it past Superman Legacy at that point. But if Superman Legacy makes $700 million, $600 million, and let's say the budget is less than $200 million to make, so it makes $600 million, that means it's going in the right direction. Hey, what's up, Trooper Geo? maybe it's a good thing. Never really was a fan of the DCEU's adaptations of most of their characters. Superman was probably the best one they did. Excited to see what the next attempt will bring. Sorry. That is where I think everybody should be. Not the negativity side of it, not the side of, I didn't like what they made in the DCU. But we as DC fans, we should all be excited about what they're going to do. Let's just see. It happens in comic book runs. Sometimes you get a writer or an artist, maybe you don't like Tim King, and he makes a Superman story that you don't like, and you don't like what he's doing. So you just wait till the next person comes in and makes a Superman story. That's how things happen in comics. And unfortunately with films, it's a little bit different because it takes a little longer and they're bigger budgets, so on and so forth. But I think that's how everybody should be excited. Triton says, Man of Steel making $668 million given Returns flopped, and the two films before Returns are considered two of the worst comic book movies ever. Is great for a character who cinematically was basically dead. Yeah, I mean, I think it should have made more money because of how great it was. Because to me, it's a masterpiece. I think it should have been $1 billion movie. I also, coming off the heels of The Dark Knight Rises, having Christopher Nolan's name attached to it, being right at the beginning of the big boom for superhero films, I think it could have done better. It should have done better, in my opinion, in that regard. Not saying that the $668 million wasn't respectable because of what you just said. Absolutely, it's respectable. And again, it wasn't a flop financially. It made money. But then you get into the BVS side of things, and you talk about the $880 million that it made. And yeah, it made more than the movie before it. Great. Awesome. But it is a movie that touts Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. It was right smack dab in the middle of the peak of the superhero boom, superhero genre boom. You have, an expectation that that film should have done more. And that's not a knock on Snyder. I like Batman vs. Superman, so I don't think it's a knock on Snyder. But I think that, when you get down to it, you take a look at all this and you start to understand why the DCU failed. And movie after movie, project after project, just things went wrong. They didn't have a plan. They had no plan. Zack Snyder had a plan. Yeah, well, as much as I like Zack Snyder, as much as I would love to see his arc completed, I don't think it was a plan that fit for the longevity of the brand. Because let's not forget that Bruce Wayne Batman would have been dead come the end of it. We'd be sitting here talking about a Batman movie without Bruce Wayne. And the mainstream audience probably wouldn't want that. Maybe they would. But I don't think they do. Batman movies are still marketable with Bruce Wayne specifically. Let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on all of this? Music's too loud, maybe? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe. Got another comment. Triton, yep, Batfleck would have died fighting Darkseid, Final Crisis style. It would have been amazing. Sure, for a secluded story. Which is, you go back to my podcast from years ago. You listen to me and Colton and other people talk. I always said the way DC should do it is they should have directors, writers come in and do like 3-4 movie story arcs, recast different Batmans, different Supermans, whatever they want to do, let them do it. And then have them all come together in a Final Crisis type of movie that just destroys everything and creates one universe that then becomes a main universe. Make that last like 15, 20 years before you do that. That would have been cool. Trooper says, Batman is to DC what a M16 is to a Marine. It's reliable, always guaranteed to do well, and very easily marketable to a wide audience. Yeah, even though Pattinson's Batman was terrible, it did well. Again, not great, but you take a look at when it came out, you take a look at the state of the superhero genre, you take a look at how dark that movie, man, that movie is dark in every way. Yeah. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think. I do want to promote this one more time. If you haven't checked it out, go to the Bridging to Geekdom's YouTube channel. Check out What If the Obi-Wan Kenobi Show Didn't Suck. Inspired by the guys over at Prism who did What If the Sequel Trilogy Was Awesome, I decided to do What If the Obi-Wan Kenobi Show Didn't Suck. I do have another one in the works that is going to be a bit longer and I think better than this one. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But the reviews are in. Look at these reviews. People love it. They love it. They love it. They love it. So go watch it. Love it yourself. Enjoy it. With all that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. And I'll talk to all of you later.